Hey everyone, Two Angry Frogs here, and we have what at first look like minor changes to Frost Mage and the Frostfire hero talents. But as we'll cover, these changes have big impacts on the Frostfire playstyle. Ice Lance spamming is no longer our main gameplay, which I think we can all agree is a good thing. However, with the changes, the rotation does have a bit more complexity than what we were accustomed to in Season 1. So let's dive in and talk about the changes and what it means for Frost Mage in Season 2. When it comes to Frost Mage in patch 11.1, Frostfire continues to reign supreme and is what we will cover in this video. It is outpacing Spellslinger by a decent margin in Raid and by a wide margin in Mythic plus AoE. It's also the recommended hero spec for open world solo play. Although there have not been any changes in what talents we have in Frostfire, how the talents work have been altered and do have impact on our gameplay. We can break down Frostfire into two primary buckets of talents, the first being Frostfire Mastery. This begins with the replacement of our Frostbolt ability with Frostfire Bolt, which generates Frost and Fire Mastery stacks when cast. This feeds into Frostfire Mastery, which increases haste with Fire Mastery stacks and Mastery with Frost Mastery stacks. With Frostfire Infusion, we can actively cast Frostfire Bolt, and additional Frostfire Bolts can be triggered by our other damaging Frost and Fire spells. The talent Isothermic Core also generates Frost and Fire Mastery stacks through either calling down a Comet Storm or Meteor when we cast the opposite spell. The second major bucket of talents is Frostfire Empowerment related talents. The talent Frostfire Empowerment causes our damaging Frost and Fire spells to grant a chance for our next Frostfire Bolt to be instant cast with increased damage and hitting additional enemies near our target. Then with Flash Freeze Burn, Frostfire Empowerment grants maximum stacks of Frost and Fire Mastery, excess Frost, and excess Fire. And this is where it gets interesting. With excess Fire, our Comet Storm causes our next Ice Lance cast to explode and hit enemies near our target. But the more impactful part is that this Ice Lance grants Brain Freeze. Prior to patch 11.1, the only spell in our rotation that granted Brain Freeze was Flurry. With the Ice Lance from excess Fire granting Brain Freeze, it impacts our rotation and how we cast our Shatter Combos now. Excess Frost triggers when you consume excess Fire, casting an Ice Nova and reducing the cooldown of Comet Storm by 3 seconds. Note that Combustion and Icy Veins always grant Frostfire Empowerment, kicking off this chain of events. Finally, we have 3 choice nodes in the Frostfire hero talent tree. The first is a defensive option between Imbued Warding and Meltdown. Between these two, Imbued Warding will typically provide the most utility. The second choice node includes Elemental Affinity and Flame and Frost. Neither brings anything major since our rotation is completely Frost abilities, so really no difference in the choice here. Final choice is between Severe Temperatures and Thermal Conditioning. For this, we'll grab Severe Temperatures for the increased Frostfire Bolt damage. So going into Season 2, our single target talents have a bit of change from Season 1. First, Ice Lances that are cast with a Fingers of Frost proc no longer consume Winter's Chill, so Ice Lance plays somewhat of a smaller role. This, along with our hero talents proccing Brain Freeze with Ice Lance during excess Fire, changes up our rotation a bit. Additionally, Winter's Chill duration has been increased by 2 seconds, giving us more time to consume the stacks. The primary decision for Frostfire continues to be whether you play Ray of Frost or not, and this comes down to just a rotational and playstyle preference. We can choose to replace Ray of Frost and Cryopathy with Slick Ice and Cold Front at roughly a 0.6% DPS loss, reducing the number of decision points in the rotation. Personally, I have never enjoyed the Ray of Frost playstyle, so I do choose the very small DPS loss. We've included both the Ray of Frost and non-Ray of Frost single target talent builds in the video description below. For our single target rotation, it centers around shattering our big cooldowns to take advantage of the high damage on frozen targets. We want to make sure that we are using our Winter's Chill charges to shatter our Glacial Spikes and Comet Storms, as well as Ray of Frost if you are running it. So for the opener, we'll precast Frostfire Bolt, Cast Flurry to shatter the Frostfire Bolt. Cast Icy Veins, cast Comet Storm. Cast Flurry again to consume Brain Freeze ahead of excess fire, giving us another Brain Freeze. If you're playing Ray of Frost, cast Ray of Frost and cast 2 Ice Lances. Cast Frozen Orb, cast Shifting Power, cast Glacial Spike if you have 5 Icicles. As we go into the rotation, we want to make sure we cast Icy Veins whenever it's off cooldown. We'll cast Flurry if there is no Winter's Chill on the enemy, and we have just cast Frostfire Bolt, Glacial Spike, or Comet Storm. We'll also cast Flurry if we have both excess fire and excess frost. We'll cast Comet Storm if it's up and Flurry was just cast. Cast Glacial Spike if Comet Storm is on cooldown. If you're playing Ray of Frost, cast Ray of Frost if Winter's Chill is on the target. Cast Frozen Orb. Cast Shifting Power when Icy Veins, Ray of Frost, Comet Storm, and Frozen Orb are on cooldown for at least another 10 seconds. Cast Ice Lance if you have Fingers of Frost or there is Winter's Chill on the target. And then finally we'll cast our Frostfire Bolts. For AoE, our 2 most significant changes for Season 2 in our Mythic Plus AoE build are with Blizzard and Freezing Winds. Freezing Winds has been redesigned and now causes Frozen Orb to deal 15% more damage to enemies affected by your Blizzard. We no longer get Fingers of Frost procs from Frozen Orb like we did before, so Ice Lance, like with single target, plays a much smaller role. This probably is for the better due to it sometimes feeling like your playstyle was simply spamming Ice Lances. Along with this, Blizzard has been updated to do more damage in a larger radius, and it lasts 4 seconds longer. This, along with the Freezing Wind change, is an improvement to our AoE and makes Blizzard a more important AoE cast. For our Mythic Plus AoE Talent build, we drop Splintering Cold, Chain Reaction, Ray of Frost, and Cryopathy. We'll then pick up Ice Color, Freezing Rain, Freezing Winds, and Coldest Snap. You can find our Mythic Plus AoE Talent build import string in the video description below. With our Mythic Plus AoE rotation, we're looking to ramp up damage with Death's Chill, and then cast as many Frozen Orbs, Blizzards, and Comet Storms as possible. We'll want to shatter Comet Storm whenever possible for the increased damage to frozen enemies. So for the opener, we'll cast Icy Veins, cast Blizzard, Frozen Orb, cast a Frostfire Bolt until you have roughly 9 stacks of Death's Chill, cast Blizzard again, cast Comet Storm, cast Cone of Cold, cast Frozen Orb again, cast Ice Lance to consume excess fire's second stack, we'll cast Blizzard again, cast Comet Storm again, and then cast Shifting Power. Note that to get the reset on Frozen Orb and Comet Storm, our Cone of Cold has to hit at least 3 enemies. For our rotation, most of our damage is tied up in Comet Storm, Frozen Orb, and Blizzard. In between cooldowns, we can cast and shatter single target spells such as Frostbolt and Glacial Spike. So for the rotation, we'll cast Icy Veins when it's off cooldown, cast Frostfire Bolt until we have roughly 9 stacks of Death's Chill, cast Cone of Cold if your previous cast was a Comet Storm, cast Frozen Orb, cast Ice Lance if you have 2 stacks of excess fire, and Comet Storm is ready. The reason for this is that our Comet Storm will enable our Ice Lance with excess fire, and when it's consumed, then we get the excess frost. We'll cast Blizzard, cast Comet Storm if Cone of Cold is ready or has more than 10 seconds of cooldown, cast Glacial Spike, cast Flurry if it's available and Winter's Chill is not on the target, or if you have both excess fire and excess frost. We'll cast Frostfire Bolt if Frostfire Empowerment is active and excess fire is not active, cast Shifting Power if cooldowns have more than 10 seconds remaining, cast Ice Lance if you have Fingers of Frost or there is Winter's Chill on the target, and then finally, in the priority of the rotation, we'll cast Frostfire Bolt. For Frost Mage, all secondary stats are pretty important and we want to maintain a good balance between all of them. However, we can use the following as a general guideline. In terms of percentages, Critical Strike at just above 33% leads to all spells that can be shattered being critical strikes. Haste is always good as it reduces the global cooldown for faster spell casting, which really benefits spells like Fire Frost Bolt and Glacial Spike. For Frost Mage, as a ranged DPS caster, our tier set uses the unique keyword Jackpot. Our 2-piece and 4-piece set centers on our Icy Veins and Frostfire Bolt abilities. For our 2-piece set bonus, our damaging spells have a chance to hit a jackpot. This fires a Frostbolt volley, dealing damage to the primary target and damage to up to 8 additional enemies. Casting Icy Veins will always hit a jackpot. For our 4-piece set bonus, Icy Veins causes you to hit a jackpot every 10 seconds for 30 seconds. Note that in terms of tying out our stats to the tier set, the damage of the Frostbolt volley increases with Intellect, Critical Strike, and Versatility, and the number of Frostbolt volley procs scales with haste. So let's quickly cover how the Shatter combo has changed. As we covered earlier, Ice Lances that are cast with Fingers of Frost proc no longer consume Winter's Chill, and consuming the Ice Lance from Excess Fire procs Brain Freeze and grants Excess Frost. What we previously cast was based on gaining Winter's Chill from Flurry to shatter other spells within the Winter's Chill timer window. So our shadow combos could look like Frostfire Bolt followed by a Flurry, an Ice Lance, and an Ice Lance, which would shatter the Frostfire Bolt into Ice Lances. Or, for example, Glacial Spike, then Flurry, then Ice Lance to shatter a Glacial Spike and an Ice Lance. With the new changes, we can gain extra Brain Freeze procs for the Frostfire Bolt and procs of Excess Fire and Excess Frost for Ice Lance and Flurry damage increases. An example of the new Shatter combo could be Glacial Spike followed by a Flurry, Comet Storm, Ice Lance, Frostfire Bolt, Flurry, followed by either Glacial Spike, Frostfire Bolt, or Ice Lance. So if we look at this, in this case, we're shattering Glacial Spike and Comet Storm to begin, and gaining Excess Fire, then casting Ice Lance to consume Excess Fire for a Brain Freeze proc, which increases Frostfire Bolt damage. This in turn grants Excess Frost, which increases the damage of our next Flurry, and casts an Ice Nova. This next Flurry also grants another 2 charges of Winter's Chill to shatter another 2 spell casts that could be Glacial Spike, Frostfire Bolt, or Ice Lance. So there can be a lot of variability in our Shatter combos now, and we really have to pay attention to what cooldowns are up, what spells are available, and in what order things are happening. So overall, Frostfire does have a bit more complexity, but the Shatter combos I think feel much more satisfying, and the rotation overall feels a bit smoother. We're no longer constantly interrupting the rotation to make sure we use Ice Lances to consume entirely too many Fingers of Frost procs, which always felt a little clumsy. So what do you think? You like the new Frostfire, or not a big fan of it? As always, let us know your thoughts and any questions you have down below in the comments. And make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you always know what's coming up next. And a special shout out to our members for your continued support. We thank you very much. And everyone, have a great day.